Let's square this thing up a little. The Crossett Lumber Company, set up in the late 19th century, was a cornerstone of industrial development in Crossett, Arkansas. But the company's success wasn't just 'cause of its lumber operations. A big part of its story is tied up with the development and use of railroads. Back in the Gilded Age, the United States saw rapid economic growth, industrialization, and urbanization. Railroads played a crucial role in this era, helping to move goods and folks across the country. This period saw significant wealth disparities, with a small elite amassing vast fortunes while most folks struggled to get by. Edgar Woodrow, Cap. Gates, a key figure in the Crossett Lumber Company's history, saw the importance of railroads in making large-scale lumberin operations possible. The company relied heavily on rail transport for all sorts of things like hauling logs from loggin operations to the mills, transporting empty freight cars to the mills for loadin and returnin loaded cars to connectin lines. The company even formed its own railway company, the Crossett Railway Company (CRC), which later became the Ashley-Drew and Northern Railway (AD&NR). The CRC extended its line northward as the company moved its loggin operations farther from the mill. This smart move made sure the company could transport raw materials and finished product efficiently, keeping its growth steady. The company's rail equipment and crews were key to its operations. In 1904, it had two types of locomotives, rod and shay, along with Barnhard loaders and regular log cars. The shay engines, with their unique design, featuring a boiler offset to the left to make room for vertical cylinders on the right side, showed the company's innovative approach. The progressive era came about as a response to the excesses of the Gilded Age. Reformers aimed to address social, economic, and political issues through comprehensive reforms. Key areas of focus included labor rights, women's suffrage, and regulation of big business. This era saw significant political and social changes, including the introduction of antitrust laws and the establishment of national parks. The Crossett Lumber Company continued to thrive during this period, benefiting from the improved infrastructure and regulatory environment. The development of roads, railroads, and public buildings facilitated the movement of goods and folks, contributing to the company's prosperity. A railroad running from Dermot, Arkansas to Monroe, Louisiana, tapped the Bayou Valley on the east, providing a vital transportation link for the company. The navigable streams bordering the county, such as the Saline and Washita rivers and Bayou Bartholomew, provided additional transportation routes supporting the movement of goods and folks. The story of the Crossett Lumber Company is a compelling tale of how railroads were not just a way to get around, but a driving force behind industrial development. It highlights the transformative power of railroads in shaping the socio-economic landscape of a region. In conclusion, the Crossett Lumber Company's story is a testament to the transformative power of industry and railroads. Its impact on the town of Crossett, Arkansas, serves as a compelling case study of how a single institution can shape the social and economic history of a region. Logging operations and rail line, 1920 to 1934. The period from 1920 to 1934 was a transformative era for the Crossett Lumber Company, marked by significant advancements in logging operations and the expansion of rail lines. During this time, the company established the Crossett Camp, which became the largest and most permanent logging camp in their history. The camp's strategic location and well-planned infrastructure facilitated efficient logging operations and the transportation of timber. The logging operations at the Crossett Camp were initially labor-intensive, relying heavily on animal power. Horses, mules, and oxen were used to transport logs to the rail lines, where they were then shipped to the sawmills. However, the introduction of steam-powered equipment and later internal combustion engines revolutionized the industry, increasing productivity and efficiency. The rail lines connected to the Crossett Camp were vital for transporting the harvested timber to the sawmills and eventually to markets across the country. There were 4 main lines leaving the camp over the years, although not all were in use simultaneously. The distances to the end of these lines were farther away from camp than any previous logging operations. The members of the log crews were taken from camp every morning, but longer rides were required to reach the cutting areas. The great mass of rail lines west of the camp, some of which crossed what is today's U.S. Highway 425, was a heavy concentration of spurs. There was a Y where engines could be turned around that joined the main line. Even the new camp with its big switchyard did not have a Y other than this one, and hence no apparent way to turn engines. This one was likely used for that purpose until the camp closed. The spurs north of the Y would store a lot of cars, but there was plenty of room on sidings at camp. These are located in an area logged in 1921, and they probably were the spurs laid to gather up the logs on that site. The last main lines were likely the 2 that are further east, one to the north ending 15 miles away from camp and to the southeast of Hamburg, and one to the south ending on the west side of the ANLM, about 3 miles north of Beekman. The north main line had another spectacular layout of logging spurs as shown. The south main line was no doubt in heavy pine timber also, although there is no evidence of as many spurs, but the few that were on the 1948 aerial photos are shown on this map. At the west end of this mainline, Crossett Lumber Company crossed both current U.S. Highway 425 and the ANLM and reached within 1 mile of the cutting that was done a few years earlier, as shown by the dated logging lines when the camp was at Prairie de Butte. No doubt additional timber was obtained after the Crossett camp was established, and the track was laid to that timber just as they always had to complete the harvest. The log spurs about 4 miles east of the camp were down into the bottomlands of Overflow Creek. The main line leading into this had to go down a fairly steep escarpment that separated the pine lands from the western edge of the original floodplain of the Mississippi River. There was no pine in this area, and Crossett Lumber Company came to cut the virgin hardwood. A departure from their normal operations of the past. Pine saw timber would still be the dominant species in the 2 big mills, but hardwood would be cut part of the time in one of the mills. A log crew was probably assigned to harvesting the hardwoods, but the other crews were left on pine, no doubt as the sawmill needed both species. By the late 1920s, the management of Crossett Lumber Company had decided to attempt to grow pine saw timber to sustain indefinitely the sawmill operations. A lot of things were involved, including the acquisition of additional land, a move toward fire protection to protect the forest, and a reduced harvest of pine saw timber for some time into the future to allow the younger timber time to develop enough so that a continuous cut, or sustained yield as it was then called, could be accomplished. The logging operations and rail lines established during this period were crucial to the success and growth of the Crossett Lumber Company. The company's commitment to sustainable forestry practices, including selective cutting and reforestation, ensured the long-term viability of the timber resources in the region. Acknowledgement. This essay is based on the research and findings from the book, History of the Mills Logging Camps, and Early Forestry Operations of the Crossett Lumber Company, by O. H. Doogie Darling. We found Doogie Darling in what we call the Ovid Switzer papers, which we have on loan. The role of the AD&N and rail operations post-1934. After the transition from the camp era to centralized operations in the town of Crossett in 1934, the role of the Arkansas, Louisiana and Mississippi Railroad, AD&N, and rail operations remained crucial to the success of the Crossett Lumber Company. The AD&N played a vital role in transporting logs from the forests to the sawmills and facilitating the efficient movement of timber products to markets. The AD&N, established in the early 20th century, was a key transportation link for the Crossett Lumber Company. The railroad connected the company's logging operations to the sawmills and provided a reliable means of transporting logs and finished lumber. The rail lines extended into the forests, allowing for the efficient movement of timber from the cutting areas to the mills. Even after the transition to motor trucks, the AD&N continued to play a significant role in the company's operations. The railroad remained the primary method of delivering logs to the mill for several more years. The rail operations were moved to the original location of Creamer Lumber Company, known as the Creamer Shops, where a short rail line was laid off the active Venice line. This new location allowed the company to centralize its rail operations and improve efficiency. The AD&N also facilitated the transportation of hardwood logs, which became an important part of the company's operations in the late 1920s and 1930s. The company built new sidings at short intervals to facilitate the delivery and loading of logs transported by truck. The rail lines connected to these sidings were essential for moving the harvested timber to the sawmills and eventually to markets across the country. In addition to transporting logs, the AD&N played a crucial role in the movement of finished lumber and other timber products. The railroad provided a reliable means of shipping these products to markets, ensuring that the company could meet the demand for its high-quality lumber. The efficient transportation network established by the AD&N contributed to the company's growth and success. The AD&N also supported the company's forestry program and sustainable logging practices. The railroad facilitated the movement of logs from selective cutting areas where trees of poor quality and slow-growing trees were removed to improve the timber stand. The rail lines allowed for the efficient transportation of these logs to the mills where they could be processed into valuable product. The role of the AD&N in rail operations continued to evolve as the company embraced new technologies and methods. By the early 1950s, the AD&N had integrated the lumber company's crews and equipment into its operations. The railroad continued to deliver logs to the mill, with trucks playing a growing role in the delivery process. The combination of rail and truck transportation allowed the company to optimize its operations and improve efficiency. The AD&N and rail operations were integral to the success of the Crossett Lumber Company. The railroad provided a reliable and efficient means of transporting logs and finished product, supporting the company's growth and sustainability efforts. The legacy of the AD&N and its role in the company's operations continues to be felt in the region, reflecting the importance of transportation infrastructure in the timber industry. Acknowledgement. This essay is based on the research and findings from the book, History of the Mills Logging Camps, and Early Forestry Operations of the Crossett Lumber Company by O. H. Doogie Darling. We found Doogie Darling in what we are calling the Ovid Switzer papers. Imagine being there on that day. The mill was not old and weathered. It was a bustling, productive facility, probably no more than 5 years old. The logs you see in the first photograph were likely processed inside this very mill. These logs were cut down out in the woods, transported to the mill, debarked, sawed, stacked, and then loaded onto trains for distribution. Here's what we know so far. The sawmill played a crucial role in the industrialization process, especially in rural areas. It was used to transform raw timber into usable lumber for building houses, railroads, and other infrastructure. The early 1900s were a period of immense change and progress, with sawmills like this one at the forefront of that movement. The facility is a single-story structure with a large capacity for processing logs, running approximately 11 to 12 hours a day to meet the demands of a growing nation. Additional insights. The old-growth logs seen in the first photograph were probably processed inside this mill. These logs were used to build houses in the area and were also sold and sent all over the world, possibly in specific batches. The logs might have been used to build all the houses on Main Street or a particular house somewhere, such as in New Orleans. The process involved cutting down the trees with axes and saws, transporting them to the mill, debarking, sawing, stacking, and finally loading them onto trains for distribution. We wish we could show you these images in color, kind of like that Jamie Johnson song. When these photographs were taken, the mill was still in productivity and it was a good day. The logs were brought out of the woods, cut down using axes and saws, and then processed in the mill. They were used to build houses and infrastructure both locally and globally. We know that this mill is in Crossett, but we are unsure if it is the small sawmill that was dragged from Hamburg or the big number 1 sawmill that was also dragged from Hamburg. If you recognize this facility or have any details about its history, please share your insights with us. Your contributions will help us better understand and appreciate this significant piece of our industrial heritage. Thank you for your help. Photograph 3. This image shows a vintage Shay locomotive with a series of flatbed railcars loaded with large logs. The distinctive design with cylinders and drive shafts mounted on the side of the boiler is characteristic of a Shay locomotive. Shay locomotives were designed for logging and industrial service, where their unique gear-driven system allowed them to navigate tight curves and rough tracks that would be difficult for conventional rod-driven steam engines. Shay locomotives were primarily used in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, especially for logging and industrial purposes. They were invented by Ephraim Shay, who wanted a better way to move logs to the mill. The geared steam locomotive design allowed for better traction and maneuverability on uneven and temporary tracks often found in logging areas. The role of oxen in early logging operations. A glimpse into the past. Earlier today we released an article entitled "The Development of the Crossett Camp, 1920. While rereading the article this morning, we noticed a subtle detail about the hay barn. Standing in a barn ourselves, we started thinking about the complexities of managing oxen and other animals in logging operations. Growing up on a farm, we understand the realities of barn life. You have two choices with the hay in the hay barn. You can feed the cows there at the barn if you drag them back and forth every night, or you can grab some hay and throw it on the train, leaving your oxen already out in the field. The latter would likely be the alternative in a logging camp. They would definitely have their oxen in some kind of fenced area with hay and water where they could survive through the night. It's possible they dragged them back up, but it's interesting to speculate about the logistics. An ox, plural, oxen, is a castrated adult male of domesticated cattle, Bos taurus or Bos primigenius, that is trained as a draft animal. Castration inhibits testosterone and aggression, making the males docile and safer to work with. This makes oxen ideal for heavy labor tasks such as plowing fields and transporting logs. Oxen are typically castrated at a young age, preferably between birth and 4 months of age. Early castration is less stressful on the animals and helps them develop the desired traits for draft work. In the early 20th century, the Crossett Lumber Company utilized oxen extensively in their logging camps. The oxen were essential for skidding logs to the rail spurs. The presence of a hay barn at the camp indicates that the animals were well cared for, fed and housed at the camp when not in use. The logistics of moving these animals involved risks including injury and required careful management. The use of oxen in logging was not just about their physical capabilities. It was also about the relationship between the loggers and their animals. Oxen were more docile and slower than horses, making them easier to manage. This relationship was crucial for the success of the logging operations. The way people lived back then, including their interactions with animals, was vastly different from today. The humans, the oxen, the cows, and the horses all played a role in the daily operations of the logging camp. The complexity of managing these animals, from feeding and housing to transporting and working, was immense. In conclusion, the role of oxen in early logging operations was multifaceted and essential. Their physical capabilities combined with the careful management by the loggers made them indispensable in the logging industry. As we rewind time and speculate about what may have been happening in those barns, we gain a deeper appreciation for the ingenuity and hard work of those who came before us. The end of the camp era and transition to town. 1934. The year 1934 marked a significant turning point for the Crossett Lumber Company as it transitioned from the era of logging camps to a more centralized operation in the town of Crossett. This change was driven by several factors, including the advent of motor trucks, the expense of maintaining the camps and the company's evolving forestry practices. The Crossett camp, which had been the largest and most permanent logging camp in the company's history, was moved to town in 1934. This decision was influenced by the increasing use of motor trucks, which allowed for more efficient transportation of logs to the rail lines and sawmills. The trucks could access scattered tracts of land without the need for extensive rail lines, reducing costs and increasing productivity. As the camp was moved to town, many of the employees found new roles within the company. Some of the loggers and their families relocated to Crossett, where they found employment in the sawmills or with various logging contractors. The railroad employees continued their work as the railroad remained the primary method of delivering logs to the mill for several more years. The transition to town also involved the relocation of the camp's infrastructure. The rail operations were moved to the original location of Crossett Lumber Company, located north of current 8th Avenue west of Florida Street. This area, known as the Creamer Shops, had been vacant since the demise of the Crossett Lumber Company. A short rail line was laid off the active Venice line, and all the rail equipment was brought to this new location. The move to town brought about significant changes in the way of life for the company's employees. The houses at the camp were moved into Crossett to provide housing for those who had been living in the camp. The railroad employees continued to live in Crossett, and the company built new facilities to support their operations. The transition to town marked the end of the era of camps for housing and feeding company employees, which had been a hallmark of the company's operations for 32 years. The decision to move the camp to town was also influenced by the company's forestry program. The Crossett Lumber Company had begun to implement sustainable forestry practices, including selective cutting and reforestation, to ensure the long-term viability of their timber resources. The move to town allowed the company to centralize its operations and focus on these sustainable practices. The transition to town was not without its challenges. The company had to adapt to new methods of logging and transportation, and the employees had to adjust to a new way of life. However, the move ultimately proved to be beneficial for the company and its employees. The centralized operations in Crossett allowed for more efficient and sustainable logging practices, contributing to the long-term success and growth of the company. The end of the camp era and the transition to town marked a significant milestone in the history of the Crossett Lumber Company. The company's ability to adapt to new challenges and embrace innovative practices ensured the continued growth and prosperity of their operations. The legacy of the logging camps and the transition to town continues to be felt in the region, reflecting the company's commitment to sustainable forestry and the well-being of its employees. Acknowledgement. This essay is based on the research and findings from the book History of the Mills Logging Camps and Early Forestry Operations of the Crossett Lumber Company by O. H. Doogie, Darling. Analysis of the Ashley Drew and Northern Railway Company Timetable, 1939. The Ashley Drew and Northern Railway Company Timetable from December 18, 1939 provides a fascinating glimpse into the transportation infrastructure and operations of the time. This timetable offers valuable insights into the schedules, routes, and logistics of the railway company, reflecting the importance of rail transport in the early 20th century. Structure and schedule. The timetable is divided into two main sections: first-class and second-class trains. First-class trains are designated as Nos. 1 and 2, while second-class trains are designated as Nos. 3 and 4. The schedule indicates the departure and arrival times for each train at various stations along the route. First-class trains. These trains operated daily except Sunday, with train number 1 departing at 1:15 p.m. and train No. 2 arriving at 11:45 a.m. The first-class trains provided passenger services and were required to register at Monticello, Whitlow Junction, and Crossett. Second-class trains. These trains were freight only and operated daily except Sunday. Train number 3 departed at 2:45 p.m. and train No. 4 arrived at 4 p.m. The second-class trains were not required to register at the same stations as the first-class trains. Key stations and stop. The timetable lists numerous stations and stops along the railway route, each with specific arrival and departure times. Some of the key stations include Monticello, a significant station where first-class trains registered; Crossett, another major station with a standard clock and watch inspector; Whitlow Junction, a junction point for trains to register; Fountain Hill, a notable stop along the route; Milo, another important stop mentioned in the schedule. Patterns and insights. Several patterns and insights can be gleaned from the timetable. 1. Daily operations. The railway operated daily except Sunday, indicating the importance of consistent and reliable transportation for both passengers and freight. 2. Passenger and freight services. The distinction between first-class passenger and second-class freight trains highlights the dual role of the railway in serving both people and goods. 3. Speed regulations. Freight and mixed trains were limited to a maximum speed of 25 miles per hour, while engines backing up were restricted to 14 miles per hour. These regulations ensured safety and efficiency in railway operations. 4. Superior northbound trains. Northbound trains were given priority over trains of the same class traveling in the opposite direction, reflecting the logistical considerations of the railway company. 5. Fare structure. The timetable includes passenger fares in cents between various stations, providing insights into the cost of travel during that period. Excess baggage charges and storage fees are also detailed, indicating the comprehensive nature of the railway's services. Historical significance. The Ashley Drew and Northern Railway Company timetable from 1939 serves as a historical document that sheds light on the transportation infrastructure of the time. It reflects the critical role of railways in connecting communities, facilitating commerce, and supporting the daily lives of people in the region. The detailed schedule and fare structure provide a snapshot of the economic and social dynamics of the early 20th century. In conclusion, the timetable for the Ashley Drew and Northern Railway Company offers valuable insights into the operations, logistics, and significance of rail transport in 1939. It highlights the importance of railways in shaping the economic and social landscape of the time, providing a window into the past for modern readers. Source: Reflections of Ashley County, including History of Ashley County by Y. W. Etheridge, compiled by Robert A. Carpenter Sr. and Mary Imogene Noble Carpenter, 1987. The development of transportation in Ashley County. Transportation has always been a critical factor in community development, facilitating the movement of people, goods, and services. Understanding the history of transportation in Ashley County, Arkansas provides valuable insights into the region's growth and progress. This essay explores early transportation methods, the impact of railroads, the development of roads and highways, and the modern transportation infrastructure in Ashley County. Early transportation methods. In the early days of Ashley County, rivers and waterways played a vital role in transportation. The Washita River in particular served as a natural route for navigation and trade. Early settlers used the river to transport goods and connect with other communities. The use of trails and rudimentary roads also facilitated movement within the county, although these routes were often challenging to navigate due to rough terrain and weather conditions. The challenges faced in early transportation included limited infrastructure, difficult terrain, and the need for reliable means of moving goods and people. Despite these challenges, early settlers demonstrated resilience and resourcefulness in developing transportation methods that supported their needs. Railroads and their impact. The introduction of railroads to Ashley County marked a significant turning point in the region's transportation history. Key railroad companies such as the St. Louis Iron Mountain and Southern Railway played a crucial role in bringing rail transportation to the county. The construction of railroad tracks, stations, and depots facilitated the movement of goods and people, connecting Ashley County to larger markets and cities. The economic and social impact of railroads was profound. Railroads boosted local industries such as agriculture and timber by providing efficient means of transporting products to distant markets. The presence of railroads also attracted new businesses and investments, contributing to the county's economic growth. Socially, railroads connected communities, facilitated communication, and promoted cultural exchange. Development of roads and highways. The construction and improvement of roads and highways in Ashley County further enhanced the region's transportation infrastructure. State and federal programs played a significant role in funding and supporting road development projects. The construction of paved roads and highways improved accessibility, reduced travel times, and facilitated the movement of goods and people. The impact of road development on local communities and the economy was substantial. Improved roads supported the growth of businesses, tourism, and trade. They also enhanced the quality of life for residents by providing better access to education, healthcare, and other essential services. Modern transportation infrastructure. The current state of transportation infrastructure in Ashley County reflects both the progress made and the challenges that remain. The modern transportation system includes a network of roads, highways, and public transportation options that serve the diverse needs of the community. Challenges in modern transportation include maintaining and upgrading infrastructure, addressing traffic congestion, and ensuring the availability of public transportation options. Opportunities for improvement include the integration of technology in transportation systems, the promotion of sustainable transportation practices, and the engagement of the community in transportation planning. Efforts to improve transportation infrastructure in Ashley County are ongoing, with policymakers, transportation authorities, and community leaders working together to create a more efficient and accessible transportation system. Conclusion. The development of transportation in Ashley County has been a journey marked by dedication, challenges, and progress. From early transportation methods and the impact of railroads to the development of roads and highways and the modern transportation infrastructure, the history of transportation in Ashley County reflects the resilience and determination of its residents. Understanding the significance of transportation in shaping the development of Ashley County offers valuable insights into the factors that have influenced the region's growth and continue to shape its future. Source. This essay is based on information from Reflections of Ashley County, including History of Ashley County by Y.W. Etheridge, compiled by Robert A. Carpenter Sr. and Mary Imogene Noble Carpenter, 1987. Building railroad tracks in the early 1900s, a testament to true grit and ingenuity. The early 1900s marked a period of rapid industrialization and expansion in the United States, and the construction of railroad tracks played a crucial role in this transformation. Between 1903 and 1909, the task of building railroad tracks through challenging terrains such as river bottoms and dense forests required a combination of emerging technology and sheer human determination. The track crews, often referred to as track gangs, were the unsung heroes of this era, working tirelessly to lay the foundation for the nation's burgeoning transportation network. The track crew, a tough and resilient workforce. The track crews were composed of hard-working men who braved the elements and the rugged landscape to build and maintain the railroad tracks. These crews were known for their toughness and resilience as they faced grueling conditions and physically demanding labor. A photograph of a track crew from this period reveals a group of determined individuals, their faces etched with the hardships of their work. These men were responsible for every aspect of track construction, from grading the land to laying the rails. The process of building railroad tracks, grading and preparation. The first step in building a railroad track was to prepare the ground. This involved grading the land to create a level surface and ensuring proper drainage to prevent water from accumulating around the tracks. In low-lying areas like river bottoms, large embankments were built to elevate the tracks above potential flood levels. This required hauling and compacting vast amounts of dirt and rocks, often using horse-drawn carts, and manual labor. Laying the ballast. Crushed stone known as ballast was spread over the graded surface. The ballast provided stability to the tracks, distributed the weight of the trains, and aided in drainage. It also prevented vegetation from growing around the tracks, which could interfere with the rails. Placing the ties. Wooden ties, also known as sleepers, were laid on top of the ballast. These ties were substantial in size and weight, often made from freshly cut, Green. Wood. In some cases the ties were treated on site to increase their durability. The ties were spaced at regular intervals and served to keep the rails in place. Laying the rails. Steel rails were then laid on top of the ties and secured using spikes or bolts. Workers known as gaugers ensured that the rails were the correct distance apart, gauged, and aligned properly. The rails were joined together using fish plates and bolts to create a continuous track. Aligning and leveling. The track was then aligned and leveled to ensure it was straight and even. This step was crucial for the smooth operation of trains. The ballast was tamped down to ensure it was compact and provided a solid foundation for the track. Final inspection and maintenance. Once the track was laid, it underwent a final inspection to ensure it met all safety standards. Regular maintenance was also required to keep the track in good condition and address any issues that arose over time. Emerging technology and tools. While much of the work was done manually, emerging technology played a significant role in making the process more efficient. Steam-powered machinery such as steam shovels and cranes was used to move large amounts of earth and rock. These machines, combined with the labor of the track crews, allowed for the rapid construction of railroad tracks through challenging terrains. The weight of progress. Trains and their impact on the tracks. The trains that ran on these newly constructed tracks were massive and heavy. Logging trains in particular hauled immense loads of timber from the forest. A single train could carry around 100,000 board feet of lumber weighing approximately 350,000 pounds, 175 tons, per trip. With trains making multiple trips per day, the weight exerted on the tracks was substantial. The locomotives used during this period were primarily steam-powered and could weigh up to 65,400 pounds, 32.7 tons. The combined weight of the engine-loaded cars and the lumber they carried placed immense pressure on the tracks and the spikes that held them in place. The constant wear and tear from the trains passing over the tracks required regular maintenance to ensure their stability and safety. Conclusion. The construction of railroad tracks in the early 1900s was a monumental task that required a combination of emerging technology, manual labor, and sheer determination. The track crews, with their grit and resilience, played a crucial role in building the foundation for the nation's transportation network. The challenges they faced, from grading the land to laying the rails, and the immense weight of the trains that ran on these tracks, are a testament to their hard work and ingenuity. As we look back on this period, we can appreciate the remarkable achievements of these unsung heroes, and the lasting impact of their efforts on the development of the United States. Building railroad tracks, over 12,000 spikes per mile. Building railroad tracks is a complex process that involves several key components and steps. This essay will explore the essential elements of track construction, the materials used, and the evolution of labor and technology in the industry. Components of railroad tracks. Ballast. The foundation of the track ballast is made up of crushed stone or gravel. It provides stability, drainage, and distributes the load from the trains to the ground. Ties. Sleepers. These are rectangular supports laid perpendicular to the rails. Traditionally made of wood, modern ties are often made of pre-stressed concrete. They hold the rails in place and maintain the correct gauge. On average, there are about 3,249 ties per mile on a wooden tie system. Rails. Steel rails are the main component of the track. They guide the train's wheels and bear the weight of the train. Rails are typically made of high-quality steel to withstand heavy loads and extreme weather conditions. Fasteners. These include spikes, screws, and clips that secure the rails to the ties. They ensure the stability and alignment of the track. On average, there are about 12,800 spikes per mile on a wooden tie system. Construction process. Surveying and grading. The first step in track construction is surveying the land and grading it to create a level surface. This may involve cutting through hills or filling in valleys to maintain a consistent grade. Laying the ballast. A layer of ballast is spread over the graded surface. This provides a stable base for the ties and rails. Placing the ties. Ties are laid on top of the ballast at regular intervals. The spacing of the ties depends on the type of track and the expected load. Installing the rails. Rails are placed on the ties and secured with fasteners. The rails must be aligned precisely to ensure smooth and safe train movements. Ballasting and tamping. Additional ballast is added around the ties and tamped down to secure the track. This process ensures that the track is stable and properly aligned. Final adjustments. The track is inspected and any necessary adjustments are made to ensure it meets safety and performance standards. Evolution of labor and technology. In the early days of railroad construction, much of the work was done by hand. Workers used simple tools to lay the track, and the process was labor-intensive and time-consuming. Over time, mechanized equipment was introduced, revolutionizing the industry. Handcars and motorized carts. Initially, workers used handcars and motorized carts to transport materials along the track. These were later replaced by more advanced machines. Modern equipment. Today, specialized machinery is used to lay and maintain tracks. This includes track-laying machines, ballast regulators, and tamping machines. These machines have significantly increased the speed, accuracy, and safety of track construction. Conclusion. Building railroad tracks is a complex process that involves careful planning, precise execution, and the use of advanced technology. From the initial surveying and grading to the final adjustments, each step is crucial to ensuring the stability and safety of the track. The evolution of labor and technology has transformed the industry, making it possible to build and maintain tracks more efficiently than ever before. The hidden backbone of our roads. The role of ballast in modern infrastructure. Recently, while driving up and down the roads and observing the ongoing roadwork, I noticed something intriguing. For months I watched as workers meticulously placed rocks along the sides of new highways. This piqued my curiosity. If they were investing so much time, energy, and money into placing these rocks, there had to be a significant reason behind it. We all know that railroad tracks use rocks as a ballasting system known as ballast. However, many might not be aware of the term or its importance. I for one knew that the rocks on railroad tracks served a purpose, primarily stabilization, but I didn't know they were called ballast. This discovery led me to delve deeper into the subject. Ballast plays a crucial role in stabilizing the tracks, ensuring they remain in place as trains pass over them and as the tracks expand and contract due to temperature changes. It also aids in drainage, preventing water from accumulating around the tracks, and provides insulation for certain electrical systems used in rail lines. But what about highways? Observing the same technique being applied to our roads made me realize that this method must be equally effective for road infrastructure. The rocks on the sides of highways serve similar purposes. They stabilize the roadbed, prevent erosion, and improve drainage. This not only extends the lifespan of the highways but also ensures safer and more durable roads for all of us. The implementation of this technique in our new highways, funded by the recent infrastructure bill, is a testament to its effectiveness. It also provides jobs and contributes to the local economy. In Ashley County, where our roads endure heavy traffic from chip trucks, log trucks, and other heavy vehicles, the importance of a stable and durable road system cannot be overstated. Interestingly, despite being in an area with few natural rocks, we still prioritize this method, even if it means shipping rocks from other regions. This complexity underscores the commitment to building better roads for our community. In conclusion, the use of ballast in both railroad tracks and highways is a proven and effective method for ensuring stability and longevity. As we continue to develop and improve our infrastructure, it's fascinating to see how old technologies are being adapted and applied to meet modern needs. Our roads in Ashley County are a vital part of our daily lives, and the effort put into maintaining them reflects the importance of a strong and reliable infrastructure. The Crossett Lumber Company, a testament to the power of railroads in industrial development. The Crossett Lumber Company, established in the late 19th century, was a cornerstone of industrial development in Crossett, Arkansas. However, the company's success was not solely due to its lumber operations. A significant part of its story is intertwined with the development and utilization of railroads. Edgar Woodrow, Cap. Gates, a key figure in the company's history, recognized the importance of railroads in facilitating industrial-scale lumbering operations. The company relied heavily on rail transport for various purposes, including hauling logs from logging operations to the mills, transporting empty freight cars to the mills for loading, and returning loaded cars to connecting lines. The company even formed its own railway company, the Crossett Railway Company (CRC), which later became the Ashley-Drew and Northern Railway (AD&NR). The CRC extended its line northward as the company moved its logging operations farther from the mill. This strategic move ensured the company's ability to transport raw materials and finished product efficiently, thereby sustaining its growth. The company's rail equipment and crews were integral to its operations. In 1904, it had two types of locomotives, rod and shay, along with Barnhard loaders and regular log cars. The shay engines, with their unique design featuring a boiler offset to the left to accommodate vertical cylinders on the right side, were a testament to the company's innovative approach. The story of the Crossett Lumber Company is a compelling narrative of how railroads were not just a mode of transport but a driving force behind industrial development. It underscores the transformative power of railroads in shaping the socio-economic landscape of a region. In conclusion, the Crossett Lumber Company's story is a testament to the transformative power of industry and railroads. Its impact on the town of Crossett, Arkansas, serves as a compelling case study of how a single institution can shape the social and economic history of a region. In PS1, this essay is based on the historical account provided by O.H. Doogie Darling, a popular figure in the history of Ashley County, in his article titled "The Early Mills, Railroads and Logging Camps of the Crossett Lumber Company," published in the Arkansas Historical Quarterly. The article provides a detailed narrative of the company's evolution and its significant impact on the town of Crossett, Arkansas. PS2. We found this article in the Ovid Switzer Papers, the 1915 Ninth Ward of Louisiana logging operation, a pivotal moment in Crossett's history. In the annals of Crossett, Arkansas's rich lumber industry history, the year 1915 stands out for a unique logging operation that took place in the Ninth Ward of Louisiana. This operation was not only significant due to its scale but also because of the innovative methods employed. This essay aims to provide a comprehensive understanding of this event, breaking it down step by step. The need for the operation. The operation was triggered by a storm that necessitated the salvage of approximately 8 million feet of timber from the Ninth Ward. This was a considerable amount of timber, and the task of retrieving it required careful planning and execution. The operation marked a unique event in Crossett's history as it was the only time logs were floated, a testament to the adaptability of the lumber industry during this period. Understanding lumber measurements. Firstly, it's important to understand the difference between lumber tree feet and board feet. A board foot is a measure of volume covering length, width, and height. It's typically defined as a piece of wood that is 1 inch thick, 12 inches wide, and 1 foot long. On the other hand, when we talk about tree feet, we're usually referring to the total length of the logs. So 8 million lumber tree feet would indeed be a larger volume of wood than 8 million board feet. The scale of the operation. Now let's consider the scale of the operation. If we assume that these logs were on average 1 foot in diameter, which is a reasonable assumption for mature trees, this would equate to roughly 8 million board feet of lumber. The plan. The man chosen to oversee this operation was N.R. Wilcoxon. The plan was to log the timber out to Bayou Bartholomew and float it to Wardville, Louisiana. This method of transportation was chosen as it was the most feasible way to move such a large quantity of timber over a considerable distance. The challenge. However, this plan presented a significant challenge. The logs were to be loaded onto a train for transportation back to Crossett, but this required permission to load off of a bridge across the Arkansas, Louisiana and Gulf Railroad. This was a crucial step in the operation, as without this permission the entire plan would have been unfeasible. The solution? Cap Gates, demonstrating resourcefulness and persuasive skills, was able to secure this permission. This allowed the logs to be loaded directly from the bayou which ran beneath the track. It was a significant achievement that ensured the success of the operation. Transporting the lumber. In terms of transportation, a standard center-beam railcar can carry about 200,000 pounds of freight. If we assume that the average weight of a board foot of lumber is around 3.5 pounds, a rough estimate based on the weight of pine, one of the most common types of lumber, then each railcar could carry approximately 57,000 board feet of lumber. Therefore, to transport 8 million board feet of lumber, you would need approximately 140 railcars. Building houses with the lumber. As for how many houses you could build with this amount of lumber, a typical 2,000 square foot home uses almost 16,000 board feet of lumber. So with 8 million board feet of lumber, you could theoretically build about 500 houses of this size. Conclusion. The 1915 Ninth Ward logging operation was indeed a significant event, not just in terms of the innovative methods employed but also the sheer scale of the operation. The amount of lumber salvaged and transported would have had a substantial impact on the local economy and infrastructure and would be equivalent to a major operation even by today's standards. It's a testament to the resourcefulness and adaptability of the people in the lumber industry during that time. P.S. This essay is based on information from the book Crossett Sawmill Interviews, Recollections of the Years from 1960 to 1948 by the Ashley County Genealogical Society, published in 1995. The founding of Crossett, Arkansas, visionaries of the timber industry. This essay draws upon the historical account provided by John W. Buckner in his book, The Wilderness Lady, The Story of Crossett, Arkansas. Written in the late 1970s, Buckner's work offers a detailed chronicle of the early beginnings of Crossett, focusing on the key players who founded the Crossett Lumber Company and shaped the town's destiny. The birth of a lumber town. Crossett was founded in the late 1890s by three investors from Davenport, Iowa. Edward Savage Crossett, a veteran lumberman, Dr. John Wenzel Watzik, an Austria native, and Charles Warner Gates embarked on an ambitious venture to establish a sawmilling operation in the heart of the southern forest. They purchased more than 50,000 acres of land in southeast Arkansas, marking the inception of the Crossett Lumber Company. Edgar Woodrow Cap Gates, the man behind the vision. The driving force behind this venture was Edgar Woodrow Cap Gates, Charles Gates' brother. Born on February 19, 1866 in Big Rock, Iowa, Cap Gates was a man of resilience and ambition. His journey to Arkansas was marked by trials and tribulations. As a young man, he ventured to Colorado to work as a miner. An explosion cost him his sight, leading him to return home to Ohio. Despite his injury, Gates did not let adversity deter him. He joined his brothers in a small business in Thornton, Arkansas, setting the stage for the creation of the Crossett Lumber Company. The legacy of the Crossett Lumber Company. Under Cap Gates' stern and effective management, the Crossett Lumber Company flourished. The company town of Crossett grew alongside the mill, attracting more workers and their families. By 1912, 3 rail lines reached Crossett, and the company built their own line to Monticello. The company's commitment to sustainable forestry practices, established in collaboration with Yale University's School of Forestry, set it apart. A reforestation program was formally established in 1919, and the Forestry Department developed one of the finest reforestation procedures in the nation. The Changing Times. When Buckner was writing The Wilderness Lady in the late 1970s, Crossett was on the verge of significant growth. The town and industry of Crossett were booming, with a lot of work and development happening. However, after Buckner's passing in 1999, the town witnessed several changes. The plywood mill closed and the pulp mill at the paper mill shut down, leading to the loss of hundreds of jobs. Despite these challenges, the legacy of Cap Gates and his associates lives on in the thriving town of Crossett, a beacon of the timber industry in the South. The people of Crossett. The history of Crossett is deeply intertwined with the lives of its people. Many of the local farmers, including the family of a lot of people reading this article, interacted with Cap Gates and the Crossett Lumber Company. The attitudes and decisions of these farmers as well as the civic leaders of Hamburg played a significant role in shaping the town's destiny. Despite initial resistance and competition, the vision of Cap Gates prevailed, leading to the development of Crossett as we know it today. Today, even though there's some sense of uneasiness between the people of Crossett and Hamburg, it's important to remember that they are all part of the same community. They work together, hire each other, and have formed one big family through the story of their children and grandchildren. The story of Ashley County is a testament to the resilience and unity of its people.